Hey everybody, we're back. This is Kelly and Brian, and we are here with Meta Titus, and you are the water bearer.
That is correct.
And that is just beautiful. I just, you guys, this is going to be a 20-minute interview, and I really got coming into this interview of just holding sacred space and allowing this beautiful human that's in front of me and in front of us a stage to talk. So we're going to kick this off with, this is the Being Curious show. Breathe. Big, deep breath in. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you did to get here, and then wrap that beautifully up with what are you curious about?
Well, my name is Meta, and I basically had an awakening starting at the age of 19, and I met this AI site that kind of facilitated a means for me to get out of a complicated relationship and addiction to chemical use, and I had an awakening, and I based this off of me having my first memory, which was taking a bite out of an apple, knowing it was forbidden to me to eat without permission, but doing it anyways, and a long left rib and two bad hips. And I'm like, okay, so this is actually very parallel with the book of Genesis. And that was also matching up with a near-death experience that I had that said I had a biblical purpose, which was weird because I actually was not religious at all. My dad was actually very religious, but because of his religion, I had 8 years of supervised visitation with him growing up. And it was because...
Tell us about your near-death
experience. That's a it's in my book. One of my books is called Waking Eve. It's my journal, and it's not that significant. I've had another one that's probably more significant that I could get into.
Okay.
But it was I ended up believing that I was this woman in Revelation, and that's what I felt like God was telling me. And I was very reserved about this because my dad's religious upbringing. He was I grew up thinking he was in a cult. He says he wasn't. There's two different stories. And so because of that, I just kind of shut down to communicating it just because I didn't want the same for myself, as I don't want to be in a cult and I didn't want to have a cult. And so the book Waking Eve is kind of about that. It's my journal, and it has to do with just that paradigm of not really having a father figure and patriarchally with my dad, but also with God. And I basically had this awakening, and God said all these things. Like he said, there's a lot of deception involved, and there often is in spiritual things. Like even in on the Stanford Research Institute of the Psychic Paradigm, on CIA.gov, the accuracy for psychic predictions is probably between 25 and 75%. So there's this paradigm of a room for error where you can be a false prophet, but also a real prophet at the same time. And that's what I identify as, is being this. It took me a while to realize it, but God said that Daniel Radcliffe was Jesus, and I believe that, and then I found out what the seven seals were, and the seven sealed book in the book of Revelation matches up actually with the Harry Potter series. So there's somebody under a hat in the first, that's Professor Quirrell. There's a sword in the second, the sword of Gryffindor. There's time tuners in the third, which matches up with the scales. There's death in the fourth is God, one of the guys' death. I can't remember his name. And then there's an arch in the fifth. In the sixth, there's darkness. That's how it starts. And then in the seventh, there's actually a break in the seventh with an earthquake in between, and that's what happened in between the Harry Potter series, the movie. And they're broken up into two as a long book, and I could get really into that at the same time, but that would take a long time. And I've written 8 books, and I communicated in this, but this was just kind of the cushioning for me to not think I was Jesus, and seeing Daniel Radcliffe as that, and I was trying to communicate this to people, and nobody understood. And I didn't know that I was the one that was opening this 7-sealed book, and then it was me that was slayed. The book of Revelation says that the book is given to somebody that is slayed, and they're carrying the burden of this. And that's a complicated story. It is a burden. It really is, because it sounded really crazy, and it still sounds crazy. And I kind of go through life. I don't call myself Jesus Christ Superstar, but it's Jesus Christ Superheroes. I have a kind of a secret identity. And
so tell us more about that, because to label oneself as Jesus Christ superhero. That's a big...
It is.
But it's a big responsibility.
It is, yeah. And most of the audience is not people in my daily life. I have friends that just began to know. But the reason I can accurately claim this is because later on, long story short, my awakening led me into the woods for 40 nights. And I spent 40 nights. I fasted for 30 days, and I went 5 days without water. That's how you get some pretty significant gifts. And also the title, like that attribute of a prophet, like the prophets in the Abrahamic religions. And I basically...
Okay, hold on. No, we've got to go back to... Take a deep breath. We got to go back to the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the woods for 40 days.
40 nights in
40
a
nights.
rainy California northern winter.
Okay. And you didn't eat for 30 of them.
I did not, no, because there's bears and I didn't want to bring food in, and I just needed... It was actually, in retrospect, it was kind of symbolic for Ishtar's descent to the netherworld.
Right.
So I was giving up all these things, and in exchange I was being given spiritual gifts, which is kind of how it works, is when you give things up, you get things in exchange.
Beautiful. So it's like day 8, right?
Uh-huh.
How are you managing? So I've never done a pilgrimage like that, and with my curiosity on this is like, when do you start to lucid? Like, Brian, you know where I'm going. Like, where do you go to what's reality and what's your body? And then so you have, I get intuitively everything that was going on and energetically what's going on, but then you're also having this physical experience and you're having them collide all at once.
It was, a lot of it was just addressing the trauma of my childhood.
Okay.
I was thinking a lot about that, and also a lot of pain that I had in my hips because of feeling like I identified with Eve and having all those connections somatically. But I mean, I had a Kundalini awakening, and by the end of it, it did feel like I was kind of watching like cartoons on my mind, just closing my eyes.
That's right. That's kind of where I'm going with, like, right?
Yeah, it was very trippy. It was something that I felt like I needed to do, though, in order to just serve God and overcome traumas from my past. And I did, because there's a lot of people that revisit that stuff in middle age. But for me, I went into the woods at age 20 and did that. And I revisited things from my childhood, and I overcame a lot of my hurt, my resentments. And my heart mainly is the thing that healed the most. Is I had a major heart awakening, and it was not just for like the concept of forgiving, but the whole world. Is I just felt like I needed to do something to kind of match up with prophets in order to also be a leader. And I didn't know what that looked like then. I was thinking about my writing and everything like that. I kept a journal my whole life. But
did you journal while you were out in the woods?
Briefly, but I was so exhausted from the fasting. But it's the time in the woods concluded my journal.
So are you like there in like a tent and like a 10-gallon bucket of water? And
I had iodine capsules and I drank out of streams.
Okay.
So it was probably pretty risky, but I did it. So
no, you totally did it. So
yeah, I had a tent and everything, and I slept I didn't have a camping pad, but it was very scary. There was one night there I could hear an animal outside my tent, and it was very, very scary.
So did you bring your phone with you?
I did not have a phone.
So how did you? Okay, so
I had a bear horn, like a boat horn, in case a bear attacked.
No, that's totally cool. So night 39.
Yep.
How did you know, just like, let's wrap this up? And
I actually had a dream, and God said it was time for me to leave.
Time to go home.
It was kind of broken up into 2 phases. Like, I met somebody halfway through, but it was 40 days total in the woods, and I left, and it was I ate everything, and it was something I had to do. And at this time, I was still struggling with. I'm actually I have gender dysphoria, so it's not really a diagnosis at this point. It's my gender identity. Okay. So I was born a female, and I should say that I have a masculine voice, but I've transitioned since then, and that's because I went through. I lived in the woods 40 nights, but then after I did this, years later, I got recruited for like basically a sex cult, and I turned it down. But it took me a long time to realize. It took me years to realize certain photos that I had in my family photos that matched up with the description of Jesus Christ in the Book of Revelation and how that parallels with my life.
Yeah.
So that's another big topic. But the 40 nights was the thing that really set the stage for some some psychic gifts, but also a lot of errors too. So I just when I was young, just like anybody has, I mean, anybody can get the math wrong in physics and math, and I mean, psychics are no exception to that too. But it doesn't change the fact that it can be like a part of the journey, like the alchemist or Siddhartha. Like even if you don't have it right, there's a reason to kind of pursue things anyways, because it's about the adventure. And chapter 9 of Revelation is actually me fighting against this sex cult, and it was then that I the one that overcomes this the paradigm that I was being set up for is given a new name, and that's when I realized that I was the man in Revelation, and it has nothing to do with Daniel Radcliffe other than he was just acting out the story that I really seemed to identify with growing up and being told that I had things like a biblical purpose and stuff, and then eventually having some pretty significant clairvoyant experiences that I could also get into at some point, and yeah, it was just very, very, I mean, you can kind of ask what you want to hear about next, but there's a lot to the story, and I don't want to say it in a way that's like too disorganized.
No, I get it. Brian, jump in.
So did you come out of that experience feeling like you had a purpose and a direction that maybe prior to that was
Okay, I'm going to say this is a first. Are you just now putting the headsets on?
Yeah, but I could hear it.
Oh my, okay. Hi guys, this is Kelly and Brian. We're on our 100th show, and I forgot to tell the guest to put the headsets on. Like, right? Oh, is that like helping it? But now
it is. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Rookie's mistake.
Oh, absolutely. It's right on me. It's right on me. I was just so captivated with your story, and I was just like so like wanting to hold space, and I totally forgot to be like, don't swear and don't do this like pre-show. I came in and I just have been like getting grounded and like just like doing this. Like I'm like just I just feel like I'm supposed to just hold sacred space for you. So
thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
That means a lot.
Total rookie mistake. Check. Don't do that again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Now Brian's going to ask you the question again. Now
okay.
that you can hear
please do.
it.
Yep, I can hear.
So I was wondering, what was that experience, the 40 nights? Was that a really clarifying experience? Do you feel like you came out of it, okay, here's my purpose, I've got direction, and it's been that way? Or is it still evolving? Do you have a sense of that?
It is still evolving, and I think in the woods it gave me a lot of clarity, but it also maybe my heart expanded, and as my heart expanded, I struggled with other people's not having had the same experience, and they didn't go through that at all either. So I came out with a lot of hurt when I returned home. This was in the California Redwood National Forest, and I grew up in Excelsior in Minnesota, and I returned, and it was just a lot of the same people and the same dramas. A lot of my old friends were still doing drugs, and my family was still really messed up. So I actually escaped into my writing, and what I did was write, and then I actually traveled again after for 10 months, and I was in the woods when I was doing my 40 nights. I was told by God when I left here I was going to have to wear all white someday, and I'm like, oh, okay, since I'm the woman in Revelation, I'm supposed to be clothed in the sun. So I didn't realize, I didn't even hardly look at the book of Revelation, but that's what Jesus does in the book of Revelation, is he's clothed in a cloud. And I traveled for 10 months wearing all white. I looked completely ridiculous, and I knew it. But I was an ascetic. I was a monk. I lived out of a backpack. I was a raw foodist. And somehow I traveled the whole country off hardly any money, but I did the couchsurfing.com thing. And so the 40 Nights in the Woods kind of set the stage for more travels because I enjoyed it so much. And I actually did go into the woods again, and I went into the New York Catskills. I met somebody that had property there, and I did a 7-day silent retreat and a fast, and I had some really significant experiences during that too. I don't fast anymore, but it was just when I was younger, it helped clear out a lot of the drugs that I was doing as a teenager, and also some of the just like the unhealthy brain chemistry. When you fast, you experience something called apogenesis, where you actually like grow new neurons. So for me to overcome a lot of the trauma and that I had gone through as a child, it was actually dependent on me doing something like that.
Oh gosh. So Tell us about Project Stargate.
Project Stargate is a program that used to exist, and it was kind of maybe like the creating of a cookbook, but now the recipes in people's heads, and that's some really interesting things if you go and read about things like Russell Targ or Ingo Swann or some big names in that paradigm. I don't identify so much with that program because they said they shut it down. But what I got caught up doing was later on, after I figured out that I was Jesus, I started messaging the CIA some of my visions that I was having. I had like something like a mini stroke. I fainted at Union Station in LA, and I got put into the emergency room, and I was like hooked up to an IV. It wasn't like a psychotic episode, and I was like dying, and I had all these visions. And prior to this, I actually channeled that someday there would be an alien depopulation agenda under the number 19 and 16, and it would be coming from China. And when I was having my near-death experience in 2016, I was picturing America's air being worse than China's and everybody wearing face masks. And that's just one example of the vision that I had. A lot of the visions were very like in tune with my personal life instead of just political. But I read the news all the time now, and I'm trying to politicize them more, and I do. But I was messaging my visions to the CIA, and a few years later, these things started happening. And the pandemic was one of those things, and it was a huge deal. And a lot of the visions that I had, I have like a long psychic resume and everything. So there is a component of Project Stargate. And actually, I got caught up messaging other intelligence agencies around the world. And if you go to my website, metaenzo.com, Meta, M-E-T-A, Enzo, E-N-Z-O. I included the analytics for my site because these intelligence agencies will click my site to communicate things back to me. And I mean, some of them are adversaries to the U.S., but that's why I don't work for actual intelligence. I probably could if I wanted to apply for the CIA, but I'm not going to because I serve a purpose with having like this intergovernmental organization. It's nameless because I've been so afraid of having like a cult, but because I have this, it's more like me on a podium just giving a lecture in my private life under surveillance. And there's not always questions being asked, but that's like a professor's. I mean, they say take notes. I mean, you can ask questions. I get like suspicious texts and stuff like about my personal life and whatever, but mainly like, I mean, like I'm just developing like a rapport with intelligence communities around the world, and I do have a role in kind of giving them certain aspects of the gifts that I have, and I receive communication back in the way that they can just through these like clicks, and I included that along with all the photos that match up with the Book of Revelation on my website, metaenzo.com. And so, for example, like I made a video for France. I didn't send it to France, but I made a video of me speaking French, what little French I knew, and then France clicked my site. And I have a metronome that is made in Germany, and I was playing that one day in a video, and then Germany clicked my site. And like, I mean, I was reading out of this Chinese news magazine that I have the other day, and then I was talking to China just through my hacked microphone on my phone, and China clicked my site. And so I'm just kind of facilitating this. And even when the protests were going on in Iran clicked my site to my surprise. And I personally did message the Vatican one day and showed them all these photos that match up with the Book of Revelation that I have as a description of Christ. And Argentina actually clicked my site, and that's where the Pope is from.
So what do we need to know right now? What's going on the Earth plane? Like, what are you getting downloads from?
Well, a lot of it is I'm just reading the news and emptying my mind. There's this book called Super Forecasting, The Art and Science of Prediction, and a lot of this very talented psychics have to constantly like empty their mind. They spend all day emptying their mind, and for me, a lot of that has had to do with just like talking and stuff like that, but reading also the news. So this was like a book that's written by like people that have worked for the intelligence communities. There's a lot of stuff that has to do with military and stuff in there, and a lot of the visions, I mean, I don't really go out of my way to have them, but I just, as I talk, there's certain themes that come up, and then I see it like and then they'll happen. Like, I don't really go out of my way to have it. I'm very grounded. I have 6 planets in Capricorn, so I don't always have like just these like kind of like these very heightening experiences. But I mean, I did have the near-death experience where I got it was like a mini stroke that I had when I collapsed at Union Station. But a lot of it just is talking. But I have tarot cards that literally I'll draw them, and this is a complete miracle, and I'm amazed every time I do it. But they literally match the things in my room. That like, I mean, there'll be like a wand that looks like the pen that I'm using, and like there's like, I mean, I drew a card for somebody when I was on West 7th Street, and this was a card that matched up with what looks like West 7th Street, and then I drew that card again for the organization that this person was affiliated with. So I just draw these cards, and it's just, I mean, they literally, like, it's a complete miracle that's happening. But I think the true miracles are like the photos that are on my website, metaenzo.com. There is a description of Christ wearing having a golden girdle on, and I had a dress when I was 17 where I had a golden girdle, and it's like the front part of a dress that's just all gold. It was a dress I borrowed from my mom for somebody's sweet 16 birthday party, and I tried Googling a similar dress, and I couldn't find anything like that. Like, so maybe this was like some old school like Bible stuff where that was maybe something that they envisioned. But I had a dress like that, and Jesus is said to have white wool hair in the Book of Revelation, and I had in all my family photos every year for some reason I was always wearing a white hat, and I can't believe like my parents always just found these little white hats for me. But you can go online and all the family photos are there. I just put them all together just because so that they wouldn't get stolen. But I included the quotes from the Bible that they match up with, and Jesus is even said to be having like feet polished like bronze, like as if it's refined in a furnace. So I was a hockey player. Yeah. I grew up skating on the lakes, and what's interesting is Jesus is said to be the voice of rushing water, so that's the Mississippi River, and the woman is seated on many waters. So this is a matter of like the divine masculine and the divine feminine being like localized in one place, or in my case, in one body.
Yeah. Wow. Like, so much going on. Any insight that you want, like anything that's coming in that you want to share with the community?
Well, yeah. I mean, I got set up. I talked about people trying to recruit me for a sex cult. Ingo Swann talks about how people will be like entrained. This is a Department of Defense psychic, Ingo Swann, in the book Penetration. He was talking about there's like an entrainment in these black ops, and there's people that were fighting over who gets to control me in this like MK Ultra reality. And I mean, they were trying to set me up with like celebrity culture, and I'm not a histrionic. You have to have a very special kind of personality to kind of like hold an audience like that. And there's celebrities that really do have that. Yep. And I don't have that. Like, I'm very more reserved. I'm an Aquarius. Like, my birthday is February 10th, 1990. And I was born at 102. They have 6 planets in Capricorn. I don't know a lot about astrology, to be honest, but I've taken a lot of psych tests. Yeah. And I'm very reserved on my EQ. I have like 30% social insight, which is very low, but like 100% problem solving. So I'm just like, I'm 33 years old now, and I'm just trying to grow up. Like, I had a YouTube channel go viral. Series. It was on somebody else's account. They stole my videos, but it's just, I got like a conspiracy theorist kind of following, and I didn't really know what to say because I was being recruited for that culture when I wanted to go in and study science, like evolutionary psychology. I was studying sociology. I was a triple major at Augsburg. Actually, 3 professors have called me brilliant, which is a huge honor. But it's mainly had to do with me wanting to have like a school of thought. The story's very interesting, and I've written 8 books about the story, and also about like kind of more essays. But ultimately, I want to be older and stuff, and develop like kind of like a self-mastery and kind of like a greater social insight and an interest in it too. So
fantastic. We could talk for hours. Like, oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your website is?
metaenzo.com. So it's my first and my middle name.
Beautiful. Meta, it was amazing sharing time with you today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you making the space. It was a true honor. So it's a huge step in my career, and it's going to help a lot with the publications of my book. So it means a lot.
Okay. Our pleasure. On behalf of Brian, this is Kelly. Being curious. Support your curiosity and share space with people, so much so that you do a radio show and you forget to tell the guests to put their ears on. Oh my goodness. You guys, be curious, and we'll see you soon.